In biblical times, Capernaum was one of the main trading villages in the Gennesaret area, which was a vibrant, populated and prosperous part of Palestine, and was inhabited by about 1,500 people, many of whom were fishermen. Many travellers, caravans and traders passed through Capernaum on the Via Maris, the main trade route connecting Damascus in the north and Egypt in the south. There remains a Via Maris highway milestone in Capernaum today. The village was thought to have prospered from the 2nd century BCE to the 13th century CE, when it reverted to a simple fishing village until the 1800s. It was in Capernaum's synagogue that Jesus gave the Sermon on the Bread of Life. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him up at the last day. Although dating the synagogue has been problematic, it is thought that the synagogue Jesus knew was built of black basalt rock and now lies beneath a more recent construction. In this synagogue, Jesus would regularly preach. Christ expelled a demon from a possessed man here and cured a Roman officer's servant of palsy. The centurion is thought to have had the synagogue built. Here Jesus is also credited with raising the daughter of Jairus from the dead. The original synagogue was destroyed and later replaced in approximately 200 CE. The remains of the synagogue include one complete wall, the ruins of the other walls and several columns. It was constructed in white stone, unlike the characteristic black basalt rock used for other Capernaum buildings. You can still see some of the stucco work, frescoes and motif carvings on the walls, as well as inscriptions in Greek and Aramaic commemorating the synagogue benefactors. Greek Orthodox Church of the Holy Apostles is the church at the centre of the Greek Orthodox monastery standing among the ruins of ancient Capernaum.
כסלמה נוטה שמיים קליע המקרה במים עליותיו הסמבים רחובו המהלך על כנפי רוח
The site was probably settled during the 1st century CE. In the 3rd and 4th century, the town expanded and the synagogue was built. Jewish Korazim continued to be inhabited until the 8th century and was then deserted. Between the 13th and the 17th centuries, it was resettled sporadically. Later, Bedouins from Syria moved in and lived here until 1948. Korazim is now the site of a national archaeological park. Extensive excavations and a survey were carried out in 1962 through 64. Excavations at the site were resumed in 1980 through 87. The site is an excavated ruin today, but was inhabited starting in the 1st century. The majority of the structures are made from black basalt, a volcanic rock found locally. The main settlement dates to the 3rd and 4th centuries. A mikveh, or ritual bath, was also found at the site. The handful of olive millstones used in olive oil extraction found suggest a reliance on the olive for economic purposes, like a number of other villages in the ancient Galilee. The town's ruins are spread over an area of 25 acres with a synagogue in the centre. The large impressive synagogue, which was built with black basalt stones and decorated with Jewish motifs, is the most striking survival. Close by is a ritual bath surrounded by public and residential buildings. The only synagogue visible today was built in the late 3rd century, destroyed in the 4th century and rebuilt in the 6th century. An unusual feature in an ancient synagogue is the presence of 3-dimensional sculpture, a pair of stone lions. Other carvings, which are thought to have originally been brightly painted, feature images of winemaking, animals, a Medusa, an armed soldier, and an eagle. Imported mythology in a synagogue. In Greek mythology, Medusa was one of the 3 Gorgons. Whoever dared to look at her in the face was instantly turned to stone. Perseus, averting his eyes, succeeded in killing her, and a winged horse Pegasus was born from her flowing blood. Believe that? Believe anything.
quieres solo una cama y de mano, quieres la constelación.
The Land Gate. This gate was built in the 13th century and was the only point of entry on dry land during the Ottoman period. The wooden doors are coated with a layer of iron, and the gate is built on a right-angle turn which forces any attacker to slow before entry, and south of the gate is a large watchtower. Toward the final assault, the line of palm trees in front of us demarcates the contour of the eastern wall, dismantled after 1840. Those standing on it on the morning of the 7th of May, 1799, suddenly heard the glad cries of the French forces, rejoicing the much-awaited arrival of the siege engines. In the Crusader period, 12th and 13th centuries, here was the centre of the royal Cathena Quarter, the probable site of the Court of the Chain, which adjudicated cases of maritime commerce and the internal anchorage of Akko port. On part of this inner harbour, the Ottoman ruler Ahmed Pasha al-Jizar erected in 1784 a sumptuous khan in which were incorporated 40 stone columns brought from the ruins of ancient Caesarea and Atlit. These columns gave it the name Kal al-Amdan, the hostelry of columns, where because of its proximity to the port, merchandise of the maritime port export trade was stored. The Templars were a military monastic order who, in the name of the Pope, aided pilgrims to visit the holy sites of Israel. They first settled in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount, hence their name, the Templars, the guardians of the temple. Following the conquest of Jerusalem by Saladin in 1187 CE, the Templars made their home in Acre and began to build their quarter in the city's southwestern section. Here, at the western edge of the tunnel, is where the main fortress of the Templar order was built. In 1750, the ruler of Acre utilised the remnants of the Crusader walls as a foundation for his walls. 2 gates were set in the wall. They were reinforced between 1775 and 1799 and survived Napoleon's siege. The wall was thin. Its height was between 33 feet and 43 feet and its thickness only 4.9 feet. A heavy land defensive wall was built north and east to the city in 1800 to 1814. Today there are roughly 48,000 people who live in Acre. Among Israeli cities, Acre has a relatively high proportion of non-Jewish residents, with 32% of the population being Arab. In 2000, 95% of the residents in the old city were Arab. Only about 15% of the current Arab population in the city descends from families who lived there before 1948. Acre is the home to Jews, Muslims, Christians, Druze and Baha'is. In particular, Acre is the holiest city of the Baha'i faith and receives many pilgrims of that faith every year.